What is up, everybody? My name is Nick and welcome to my channel for my HHR SS. And what better way to start off this whole thing with just giving you a quick little tour of the car. So a quick little backstory with this car. I'm the second owner of it in 2010. I've loved it ever since. So like I said, I bought this car used, HHR SS. I am the second owner. From what the guy told me, who originally bought the car, he debadged it, so the SS logos are no longer on it. You can tell it's an SS because one, you got the chrome rims, which were not an option on the base model HHRs. You can also tell by the spoiler in the back, or the exhaust system in the back. It's a little hard to see, but you see that there's that bow tie on the top. That's how you know it's a GM Performance exhaust, which is only offered in the SS models. The other thing you can notice is this front grille is a black chrome front grille. Another thing that wasn't an option on the base models. And then finally, the one way to really show is when we pop that hood. The GM Performance air intake, which again, SS models are of course GM Performance cars, which is why they have these types of intakes. I am totally messing with you. This is not my SS, this is actually my LT. It's what got me started with loving the HHR. This is my everyday driver, and we actually have to go to my sister's house. So let's take a little journey and I'll explain a little more later. And here it is, my 2010 HHR SS. So looks a whole lot more like an SS than the other one does, huh? The reason why I did that beginning of the video, by the way, isn't because I'm trying to make fun of those who don't have an SS or anything like that. It's more because of the fact that recently, some of us HHR enthusiasts, we have a couple Facebook pages and forum sites and stuff. We've been seeing a lot of people post HHRs for sale, and a lot of them are LS or LTs, and they either have SS badging on them, or people are saying they're SSs, or they're like, it's an SS clone, and really all they're doing is putting rims on them, and really nothing else, some minor stuff, and saying it's an SS clone, when really, once we get into this car, you're gonna see there's more than just 18-inch rims and SS badges on the side of it and that kind of stuff that turn it into a true SS. So enough of me talking, let's get into the car. And here we are on the inside of the car. As you can see, it looks somewhat similar to my LT, but it's a little bit different. As you can see, the front seats have the SS logos actually in them, which is cool. The seats themselves have a leather trim with kind of like a fake micro suede insert in the center, as well as kind of like this mesh sport material to kind of make them look like sports seats. Same thing for the back too, which is a little hard to see because we're in a dark garage and it's a black on black car, but you can kind of see it a little bit. Again, black on black interior. Also, you'll notice the SS logo and the steering wheel, which is pretty cool too. But we're just gonna turn it over so you can see everything light up and see. This is the cool RPD display. It allows me to adjust a bunch of different things so I can see performance-wise with the car. Right now I had it on checking out my Spark Advance and knock retard on it, but I can go through a bunch of stuff. I can see my engine power and torque. I can see my miles per hour and my G-force, which is pretty cool too, but I usually have it set on my boost so I can keep an eye on it, make sure that boost is alright, make sure there's no boost leaks or anything like that, especially because my brother and I did all the work with the rebuild. We want to make sure that it was done correctly and that there are no leaks going on with it. So anyway, yeah, some things that we did with this car interior wise, as you can take a look at and see, I put in a Pioneer AV1C, I think it's the 8100 NEX. So it was the second generation of the AVIC, the NEX series from Pioneer that have Apple CarPlay. Speakers are on their way, just haven't had a chance to put them in. But that's it for the interior. I have a sunroof too. Who cares? You never really have to use the sunroof in a performance vehicle in the first place. But it came with the car, so you know, it is what it is. All right, now let's go check out the exterior of the car. Of course, this isn't the ideal setting. I wanted to actually bring the car out and show it to all of you, but as you can see, it is raining real bad. I'm not a fan of bringing this car out in the rain. Of course, it's been rained on before, but ever since I decided it was no longer an everyday driver, if there's a cloud in the sky or rain falling from it, it stays indoors at all times. Trying to protect this paint as much as I can, especially because it is a black car. Some quick upgrades that I've done exterior-wise. We did the black Depo headlights. Just gives it a way nicer look than the LT has. And I can actually show you because the white headlights are on my LT. So you can see when you step back, like, you have this look. Or, of course, you have this look. And I think that just looks a little bit meaner. I put a carbon fiber vinyl over top of the bow tie just to kind of hide it up. I'm not a big fan of that gold sticking out on top of all of this black. So that's just kind of a quick temporary fix until I decide how I want to paint it and go forth with that. SS logos. So the SS logos, they originally were white, but I blacked them out thanks to House of Graphics. I'll put the information down below. They have some SS overlays and you can pick any color you want. Of course, I want it black on black to make it look nice and sleek. Now the main difference, the LT and the SS, main things, as you can see the body kit on this car, you can see that this front bumper actually sticks out a little bit further than the LT does. So there's the SS and there's the LT. You can see I have no side skirts on it. Rear bumper as well, just like a standard bumper. Nothing too crazy. Now going over to the SS, side skirts, whatever you want to call them. With the bumper, you can see it kind of comes out and protrudes a little bit further. It's got that underbody kit, makes it look pretty mean. Another thing that I did, the taillights. Those are IPCW Bermuda black taillights, and the cool thing about them is that they're LED, so they are red LEDs, but when we turn them off, you'll see that they are all black. Of course, the reverse lights are white in the center here on the bottom. I'm never gonna get pulled over for someone saying, hey man, you put night shade or on your rear taillights and everything like that. That's not really street legal. You can't do that. Well, of course I can, because it's all red. Finally, the SS has a spoiler on the back. So the difference between this spoiler and the non-SS spoiler, which was an upgrade with the HHR LS or LT, this one, as you can see, has really no gap between the back of the car and the spoiler, whereas the LS LT, it's a giant fin that comes out with an opening. All right, enough of this stuff. Let's get to the engine bay. This shows you kind of where almost all the work has come with this car. Just to kind of give you a quick tour of it, I'm gonna pull up my list on my phone so I don't miss any upgrades. This car originally came with a 2.0 LNF Ecotech engine, which is a turbocharged engine from GM. The LNF was just the code for it. Comes stock with a KO4 turbo, and I think from the factory it was like somewhere around 13 to 15 PSI, I would say. Maybe you'd be able to get 17 out of it, but I think that's kind of where it was set. This is an automatic, and the reason why I got an automatic over a manual, for a car enthusiast, you're gonna be like, man, you're such a loser, you're not driving your car, it's not a stick, this, that, and the other thing. But when it comes to the HHR, the automatic is faster. It's been proven. They're getting more power out of the automatics than they are a manual. And at the end of the day, I'd rather have something more powerful and be an automatic than something that's slower and be a stick shift. This engine, the engine that's in it is an LDK engine. This is, we got this built from ZZ Performance. Real cool thing is it's a Gen 3 aluminum sandcast engine. It's the European version of the LNF. So what's the difference primarily? It should have about 10 horsepower more than the LNF does, and it runs at a higher compression ratio at 9.3 to 1 instead of 9.2. Not much of a big difference, but a difference. It can also handle a whole lot more horsepower than the LNF can. This car from the factory, 260 horse and 260 torque, KO4 turbo, which is that stock turbo, nothing too big. We did upgrade the bypass valve. We did a forged atmospheric one, just because of the fact that the one thing I was noticing is that excess pressure used to just get recirculated through the turbo. I was just afraid, especially with that old turbo frying at 75,000 miles, that would happen to this one as well. So we got an atmospheric. All that excess pressure, as soon as it shifts or doesn't need it anymore, releases it to the atmosphere. Let's talk about more than that. So you have that LDK engine. We have Opel injectors. So Opel is the European GM, basically. So those are the injectors that go along with that LDK engine. So you're running higher injectors than the LNF ones are. we also have a intake manifold from TurboTech Racing. A really rad thing about this manifold is that it was a bolt-on manifold, but for some reason they exclude the PCV valve. With this manifold, it was actually not an option. So what they did is you can actually tap where that excess air and everything comes out of. Comes out and goes into an external PPV housing, which we put down here, and then comes back into it. So then that way we still have that usage. So when I am under boost conditions, of course we have that. We might end up putting a catch can on it, but for now, it's great the way it is. We just wanted to make sure we can get the car running. The ZZP high flow air intake. So the one thing you'll notice, the L&F engine, the original airbox actually sat above in this big box that sat above the engine itself. And there's actually a cutout, which is very hard to see, on the side here of the fender, which allowed air to come in. There was a hose that connected into your intake airbox, which that's how you got your air feed from, and then of course it went where it had to go. Because of the fact that we put on this intake manifold, some of the brackets that were up front that were on the stock manifold are now missing. Here we are building this car, figured might as well do it because we want to do it at some point. We got that ZZP, the high air flow intake. You used to have the mass airflow sensor up top, but since we have that atmospheric valve on the car, it is now on my lower charge pipe, which you can't see unless we crawl under the car. So we have a block-off plate where the map used to be. ZZP intercooler is the next thing that's added to this. So you can kind of see that silver intercooler right there, or if we go from the front, there's that intercooler, nice big. It's a lot larger than the stock one. The sucky thing with the stock one too is that they were plastic end caps and they used to blow apart. Anytime there was a boost issue, if you were lacking boost or anything like that, 9 times out of 10 it was because the end caps probably cracked because they were made out of plastic. ZZP, that's not the case. It is all metal and it just connects to some silicone couplers to make sure that everything is connected. Nothing will break or explode on you from excess pressure or anything like that. With that intercooler, we did get upgraded charge pipes from ZZP. Stock on this car with the L&M, they were plastic. Once you were getting into higher boost range, especially if you're going to tune this with HPTuners or with Trifecta, a lot of them were blowing apart, and you'll see photos where there's a giant hole missing out of the stock charge pipe because of too much pressure. Next thing, ZZP high voltage coil pack, which are the red ones up here. You can see here, basically what that is just to be able to handle higher horsepowers and everything else without them crapping out on me or anything else. ZZP has been super helpful with this build, and this is not a paid endorsement for ZZP whatsoever. I'm going to be saying their name a lot because a lot of their parts are in this car as we speak. They are kind of the leaders with the Ecotech platform. Their customer service is pretty awesome. I've been able to send them a few emails and it just like random questions here and there, especially with the turbo setup since it was new to my brother and I, and they've been on top of it, been able to answer any questions, been able to help us out with all of that. Again, that airbox that originally sat on the top, you wouldn't have been able to see them. So with the ZZP air intake, instead, you now have all of this exposed. Now originally this car doesn't have a cover plate at all. Another HHR enthusiast by the name of Christien with Altered Ego Automotive Designs actually designed this and made this for me along with the fuse box cover plate. We'll talk about that in a little bit too. So we can kind of show off that coil pack, and we have it lit with an LED light strip to kind of just give you a little bit of race to it. I like a little bit of race, not too much race though. Now you might be saying to yourself, man, that looks really dumb because this LED strip is black. Eventually this valve cover will be powder coated black as well. So with the black intake manifold, black powder coated valve cover, along with everything else, it'll kind of blend in a little bit better. It sticks out like a sore thumb right now because it is black on kind of like just a raw metal finish. Next up is the TurboTech Racing engine mount. So you can't really see it. Maybe if I turn my light on my phone, you see that little bit of black and red down there? That is the engine mount from TurboTech Racing. The one thing about this car, it is a front wheel drive car, so of course it's gonna have a lot of wheel hop, especially when you get into high boost or if you floor it in first gear. that steering wheel is gonna usually, for me, shift to the left really hard. So putting that engine mount in there allows it to stabilize the engine a little bit more, reduces that wheel hop. Anyone drives a front wheel drive, you know exactly what I'm talking about, how much of a pain in the butt that is. There's also TurboTech Racing trans mount bushings. So since this is an automatic, they don't make the actual transmission mounts. They have bushings you can press in. Took the old transmission mounts out, pressed the new bushings in, kind of helped just solidify the engine and trans to reduce wheel hop. So with all this power, or what is supposed to be all of this power, we're supposed to make sure that we have enough stopping power for it as well, which is why we ended up going with the front brake package from ZZP. I think it's 12.5-inch rotors drilled and slotted with Brembo front brakes. This was an option from GM that you can get. I think it was the F35 code is what you had to get with the HHR SS. This car didn't have it since it's an automatic. The F35 is a manual transmission. It's supposed to be able to handle higher powers instead of the automatic. Since this is an automatic, doesn't have that option, didn't have the Brembos. They were black. We painted them just to kind of give it a red look, but of course kept the face black so you can still see that Brembo logo. So we have them on the front. On the back is Stop Tech, just drilled slotted rotors with red calipers. We put a cool little vinyl on them that you can kind of see. Stainless steel or stainless braided brake lines are on both the front and the back as well. Another thing is the map sensors. The map sensors on this car were 2-bar map sensors, stock from the factory. Did an upgrade with 3-bar map sensors. GM actually had what they called the GM Turbo Upgrade Kit, which were 3-bar map sensors and a tune, which brought this car from 260 horse and 260 pounds of torque to 290 horse and I believe somewhere around 290 pounds of torque. I don't think it was exactly 290, somewhere around there. So what we did is we actually got the 3-bar map sensors ourselves, and since we have all of these additional upgrades, we knew we were going to be tuning this, so we figured we might as well do it all right now just to get it all dialed in. Finally, in the very back, which you wouldn't be able to see, we'll show it in another video, but we have the TurboTech Racing rear sway bar attached to the back, so that way it just kind of helps keep that back end planted, helps reduce body roll. Of course, this car looks like a grocery getter, something that you'd see a mom driving her kids to like a soccer event or something like that. So there is a ton of body roll, especially when you're in a lot of power and turning that car. That rear sway bar in the back, it kind of helps us just plant the back end, help reduce that body roll. Finally, let's go back to the coil pack cover and the fuse box plate on the top. That was designed, again, like I said, by Christien, by Altered Ego Automotive Designs. He makes this stuff, and he's an HHR driver as well. I think that he was making them for a few other guys, and figured, you know, this would be really cool, especially because I want to show off this coil pack. Now, the one thing I really wanted to show you was the fuse box cover. On here, you'll see there's a couple things. There's the outline of the HHR at the top, the Chevy Performance logo, TurboTech Racing logo, ZZP logo, the Altered Ego Automotive Design logo, which is Christien who designed that stuff, and then finally this one here, which is a replica of a 39 Chevy. My late Uncle Lou, who was an NHRA drag racer, he was a car enthusiast who passed away, was a big part of my life growing up, and especially in the car scene and everything else. I think he's one of the reasons, along with my brother and my other uncles, why I'm in the car so much. And I wanted to kind of just pay homage to him and respect to him. Granted, I'm not a big fan of putting in loving memory of their name with like their birth and death date on the car, like in vinyl or anything else. But this is kind of my way of showing respect to him. He had a 39 Chevy Street Rod Coupe, but unfortunately we couldn't find a pattern of the coupe, so it's just a 39 Chevy. Finally, this car was tuned by HPTuners. Again, thanks to the folks at ZZP, was able to tell them everything that was in the car, which they kind of knew everything in the first place because most of the parts are theirs. We're able to write us a remote tune, we were able to install it, log all the data, send it to them, and tweak it back and forth until the car is ready to go like it is today. To be honest with you, if we were to take everything that everyone is advertising, all of this extra stuff is supposed to add to the car power-wise, we should be around 350 horsepower. Now, of course, you lose some stuff here and there. Who knows how much power is to the wheels? I would say maybe somewhere around 315 would be an honest number, but again, we don't know because this car has never been on a dyno yet. This new motor actually just hit the 500 mile mark, so it is still in the break-in period. Last thing I want to do is throw it on a dyno and redline it and push it to its max. when we're still breaking in this motor. And that is it. Thank you for checking out this first video. If you liked what you saw, make sure you give it a big old thumbs up, and make sure you hit that subscribe button below to check out the future builds going on with this car. See ya.